Okay, good afternoon, friends. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. We're very lucky to be together on this cold afternoon in New York and probably hopefully warm wherever you are. We are very happy to be here, also co-sponsored by many folks this event. So we are very excited to present this event as one of our speaker series sessions from CAFE, the CUNY Alliance for Inclusion, great group of faculty, students, and staff administrators who are fighting on behalf of the student body and the faculty at CUNY to bring civil discourse and academic excellence to our communities here at CUNY and beyond, and to educate others about what we stand for, which is inclusion and truth. And we hope to be able to do that eloquently and effectively for years to come. We're also excited that Hillel folks are here, and Hillel at Baruch, John Jay, and City are excited to always sponsor and co-sponsor these events. We also have a number of student groups joining us. I'm going to ask RJ to let us know which student groups have co-sponsored today's event.
Yeah, really amazing event today. We have a number of clubs at Baruch. So first off, we have the Indian Student Association at Baruch, Ascendum, which is the Dominican Student Association, the African Student Association, and the International Student Association. So many clubs in addition to CAFE, of course, which is the CUNY Alliance for Inclusion.
Thank you, RJ. So we're excited. Thank you for folks to joining us to hear from Bill. And if RJ can highlight folks when they speak, that would be great. So thank you, and we'll keep adding folks as they come. So it'll be great. Okay, so we're excited to be together for this amazing session. If RJ you can also highlight Bill, please. Okay, so the two of us will be on screen. There we go. Okay, so without further ado, we're excited to present to all of us an amazing story, an amazing inspiration. I've been inspired just learning about Bill in the past couple of weeks since Ozzy was fortunate enough to tell me about Bill, and it's an inspiration just to read about Mr. Bill Tingling. And we are very lucky to have Bill with us today. He has been an altruist, a giver, someone who thinks of others for his whole life. And in a fun way, he's one of us. He went to John Jay. He's a John Jay graduate, so he's one of our CUNY community members. And from early 90s, he started doing amazing things for the community and thinking of others, and started an incredible initiative called School News Nationwide in the early 90s, where he brought a perspective for young people who were at risk, who needed a specific approach to utilize technology, the power of technology, to really represent variety of issues and to learn together. And they produced, as students together, a variety of different content, which is pre today's technological world, right? People were actually doing it with cameras and writing. So I commend you to be able to do that in those times, Bill. So it's very cool. And then Bill was able to meet folks from the Holocaust survivors, and that has, I will say, changed Bill's life, as he writes, and has in many ways impacted him and his community. And he's done a lot to connect African-American youths to Holocaust survivors and to that story, and to tell that story in very explicit and important, urgent ways. Recently, Bill has traveled to Ukraine, which is somewhat very urgent today, as we are learning about the immense news coming out of the region, and a war that's impending and actually occurring today. And our prayers are with Ukrainian people and Jewish people in Ukraine. There's 300,000 Jewish people still remaining in Ukraine. And I'm really excited to hear about Bill's experience there and Bill's experience in a variety of places that were affected by the Holocaust. And his lifelong goal to connect the African-American experience and the Jewish experience has been inspirational for me. And I'm very excited to present to all of us, Bill Tingling. And without further ado, Bill, please tell us, I'm just going to start you off with a not with a softball, but right away with a big question. And you know, why? Like, tell us about you and how did it come about that this is who you are at this point in your life? Where did that come from? How are you such a altruist, such a person who cares about others? Where is this coming from?
Great. Mr. Brotman, teachers, professors, students, and everyone, I bid you greetings. I must say, first of all, it is with sadness in my heart that I share with you of what's going on in the Ukraine. This was not supposed to be my opening statement. However, our brothers and sisters there in the Ukraine, it hurts. It hurts to see more bloodshed. It hurts to see how these things could have been prevented. But because of bullying, because of one man, the authority of one man. So please forgive me to having been so emotional about this matter. But after standing on the ground in Bogdanovka, where 54,600 Jewish people and others, within 45 days, ladies and gentlemen, they were killed. I stood on that blood-soaked ground in Bogdanovka, and I could picture it in my mind right now, where all the families, boys, babies, children, were killed less than 80 years ago, and only 127 survived. So here again, please forgive me to having starting with this piece first, but I just have to share that. And students, teachers, professors, and everyone, we are about or we're having more bloodshed again in our lifetime, in our era in the Ukraine. So on that note, I'm sharing from my heart that they're in our prayers. We have several Holocaust survivors there in the Ukraine. Here again, that is my forte, that is my strength, Holocaust survivors. I am the goodwill ambassador to the Ukraine under the auspices of the Holocaust Initiative here in New York. So here again, I just had to share that with you, how my heart is somewhat heavy because of the bloodshed. So on that note, let me revert back to what Professor Batman had asked. Approximately 20 years ago, I'm a journalist, I'm a writer. I was doing some stories in Yonkers, New York. And in the process, I met a wonderful woman. Her name was Sally Frischberg. The story that I was working on is how slaves, African-American, built Yonkers, built New York, Washington, DC, and other places. And in the interim, I met a wonderful woman. Her name was Sally Frischberg, a Holocaust survivor. And from that time until now, we have developed a wonderful academic setting. The revolution and the revolutionary interest of academia has somewhat changed my life. Sally and I, throughout the years, we have seen more than 100,000 students from school to school, visiting, sharing with them the importance of tolerance, empathy, compassion, and inclusion. In the daytime, we had about 400 students in different schools in the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Bedford-Stuyvesant, all over. We had an evening after school program, summer program, day school program, bringing Holocaust survivors and African-American students in school, sharing the importance of tolerance and empathy. So what the students did, they were able to interview these Holocaust survivors. So we developed a setting such as corporation, let's say PS 197. PS 197 times. We had a corporate structure in which we had the president, secretary, treasurer, photographers, a really fantastic journalism setting. A corporation, but kids doing it. They were able to go out and interview other people. They were able to put a portfolio together, a magazine, a newspaper. We've been doing this for a while. So within the interests of all those years, we have seen more than 100,000 students, and that's a lot. That's a lot. Nevertheless, there are less than 35,000 Holocaust survivors remaining in New York. You may ask, Mr. Tingling, what is the interest of you and Holocaust survivors? Why are they so important to you? The reason why they are so important to us, in a few more years, they'll be all gone. Your grandkids may ask, Mom, Dad, Grandma, Grandpa, who are they and what were they? And you'll be able to share that information with them. However, there's another force that's going on to saying that the Holocaust didn't exist. It happened. African Americans and the Jewish organizations from the civil rights movement all the way up, we've been working together in making the wrong right, getting rid of the wrong and reintroducing the right. I had a speech in which I had set up, videotaped for you, in sharing the relationship, the strong civil rights relationship that we had together. Because of what took place, we got sidetracked, and our videographer and our reporters, they had to postpone it for another day. But we will have it for the future. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask of you, this African-American male here, who's able to see here again, many other people have gone through places of atrocities and seen bad things and ask why. But I'm here to share with you that the why is an answer that we can answer. It is our responsibility, as Professor Elie Wiesel says. If we don't correct the past, eventually it will repeat itself. So we have the responsibility, we have the knowledge, and we have the wherewithal to say never again. We can work together as a team. Because there are less than 35,000 Holocaust survivors remaining in New York, we came up with an idea. How can we get more students to see and hear the story of a Holocaust survivor? How can they see the numbers on their arms? And here again, ladies and gentlemen, the reason why we're putting the emphasis and the stress and the energy on Holocaust survivors is because it happened 80 years ago and they're alive to talk about it. And they're liberators. They're alive to talk about it. So the interests and the power that we have and we're taking, we are bringing them another level of sharing the past when they were students growing up to now in their senior years. So they have lived several generations and they're able to share. I was a child when ABC happened, when I lost my mom, when I lived in the barn because the Nazi came in and killed my family. This is real stuff. we came up with an idea. How can we get more students to see and hear the stories of Holocaust survivors? We joined the USC Schull Foundation and we came up with an idea. It's called the TOEFL Tolerance Bus. This bus will be something like Epcot Center, will be retrofitted with holograms, interactive technology, artificial intelligence, and on that bus will be a live Holocaust survivor. So the bus will pull up to your school. Let's say, for example, your school has 1,000 students. Prior to us getting to your school, we'll have a curriculum sent to the teachers. They'll work on the curriculum. The bus pulls up to your school, and we'll be able to see your 1,000 students before the bus pulls out. Take us a week, take us 2 weeks, it doesn't matter how long. But the students will be able to see a Holocaust survivor on that bus or a liberator. As the students come on the bus, they'll be virtually transported elsewhere. Let's say to Auschwitz. Let's say to the Platzau. Sharing with them what took place at that time. Of course, there will be curriculum, New York State standards. So everything will fit perfectly. That's what we're working on. Bringing that bus to your school. One bus will see 75,000 students per year. One bus. Could you imagine 3, 4, 5 buses? Ladies and gentlemen, that's where we are right now. We are at a confluence, style, life, forefront in which we are bringing the subject of respect, authority, tolerance, empathy, compassion to our associates. You have many questions for me, but I just had to share with you exactly the importance of what we do with Holocaust survivors and their liberators and where we are today.
Thank you, Bill. That's very powerful. And just to follow up with that, so the 100,000 students that you have seen, what do you think has been the outcome, and what was the planned outcome? What did you think you were going to change? How do you think you were going to change these young people? And what do you think has happened? And where is this going further? How is this going to change who we are as Americans, as African Americans? How is the community changing? And what do you think, where is the next step for this?
Well, let's answer the first question first. It is said a newspaper, one newspaper is 5 readers. One newspaper, 5 readers. One Holocaust survivors is more than 1,000 readers. Why? Because the students are able to share that information with their brothers and sisters and others. What did they learn? Well, they learned not to be a bystander. They learn how to be compassionate. They learn if you see a wrong, you talk about it. If you see something that's contrary to standard, you do something about it. In other words, having a Holocaust survivor or liberator in the school, sharing with them the importance of tolerance is an opportunity for them to be able to make a change in their future life. They are the leaders of tomorrow. And they could say 5 years or 20 years from now, when they become the lawyers and the leaders of this world. I remember when I was a child, when I was in school, I met a Holocaust survivor who said that they lost all their family. And I must do whatever I possibly can now as a lawyer or as a legislator to pass the bill to say no to intolerance. So what do we do? What are we doing? We're influencing, educating, and empowering others to be the good tree, the planted tree, the nurtured tree, for them to bear fruit and share it with others. Where are we going now, you ask? Well, if it wasn't for COVID, we would have been able to see thousands of students and our bus would have been on the road up and running. But we have some temporary challenges due to COVID. So let's say between now and the year 2023-24, we'll be up and running again fully to be able to complement our academic teaching, sharing Holocaust survivors education with our students, and moving forward and doing better and greater things.
Amazing. It's aspirational, right? Your hopes are larger than life, and I'm very excited. And folks, whoever has questions, please either write them in the chat or raise your hand. We'll get to you right away. I'll continue with this idea that you're writing a book, or the book is already written, as I understand. Very excited to read it. Being Jewish in an Intolerant World. And I'm excited to hear from you. The title is is a great hook, right? It's an enticing title, coming especially from you, right, as an African American man, and from your experience. And the readers will ask, like, how do you know how it is, and where are you channeling your vision and your understanding of our experience, and how you connecting it to the African American experience. I'd love to hear your perspective on that.
Being Jewish in an intolerant world is like being Black in an intolerant world, being LGBT in an intolerant world. The aspect of being Jewish in an intolerant world is because of the hatred that's going on now throughout the world against the Jewish people. Listen, consider this. We have about 44 million people that live in the Ukraine. And we have less than 15 million Jewish people throughout the whole world. Why would you say there's so much hatred, hardcore dark hatred against the Jewish people? Well, the interest for me, what propelled the interest of me, is when I was in Baghdadovka, in Babi Yar, and to see how the darkness of Hitler's heart, how he was able to massacre more than 6 million. And this is 80 years ago. And yet the continuance of that evil desire to eradicate the Jewish people brings me to being Jewish in an intolerant world. If Iran get that bomb and have the leverage to do what they want to do, I kid you not, they would get rid of Israel. Why? Why? Please forgive me for being so strong with my ideology, but it's real. If we fail to correct the past, if we fail to understand and respect each other, if we purposely fail not to do the right thing, then evil will take over. So it is our right as a people to strengthen our borders of intelligence, to strengthen our borders of empathy, strengthen our borders of respect for others. And together we could work. Back in the 1960s, during the Civil Rights Movement, if the Jewish people and the African American people, they were bond together. 90% of the lawyers who supported the African Americans during the Civil Rights Movement were Jewish lawyers. The lynching that took place among the African, more than thousands of African American people were lynched. But people came in to help, to say, no, that is wrong. So yes, I do lean my intelligence, my wherewithal, my heart to Holocaust survivors because they're still alive, and what they are able to do for others, to do for the youth. When was the last time you saw a Holocaust survivors, students? If you haven't seen one, I would love to bring one to you on a Zoom call, and they'll be able to share with you the importance of respect, tolerance, and not to be a bystander.
We'll take you up on that 100%, Bill, by the way. We're definitely, every year we're looking to bring Holocaust survivors, especially around Yom HaShoah, which will happen April 28th this year. And we have some questions from the audience. Naeem has a question. If RJ, you can spotlight Naeem. Go ahead, Naeem, and tell us where do you go to school? Where do you go to school?
I go to school in Baruch College. I My name's Naeem. Nice to meet you, Bill. I'm really it's amazing. I just have one really big question. What has been the biggest obstacle you have faced in promoting your ideology between like different people?
The biggest obstacle?
Yeah.
Myself. I'm the biggest obstacle. And the reason why I say myself, because I boldly faced everyone and everything in regards to this understanding. I'm like a bully in the sense, a good bully, spreading the importance of my friend, Mr. Naeem. In a few more years, we won't have them alive, they'll be all gone. So I gullish through the door with them. Holocaust Survivor 9, Holocaust Survivor 10, Sally Fishberg, Sammy Steigman. So the biggest obstacle is me not doing enough.
So I just want to add a little bit more. How would you get like more let's say something doesn't go your way, all right, and you're trying your hardest and like it doesn't end up going that way, because even though you're still trying and sometimes things are not, excuse me, things are not always in your favor and there's always other people trying to make a little bit of a headache, how would you try to influence them to try to help you out?
That's a good question. And the way they teach me, they meaning the Holocaust survivors have taught me. Here again, I am a student in their camp. In everything, sir, there's a lesson. In everything, there's a lesson. There is no such thing as failure, temporary setbacks. So let's say, for example, something didn't go your way. The question is, what is a lesson why that I need to learn from that? What is a lesson? There's a lesson in everything. Is it a lesson? Did I come over too strong? Is it the lesson? Did I not dress appropriately? Is it a lesson they don't want to hear me? What is a lesson? There's a lesson in everything. So this is the way we look at it. Everything that doesn't go the way you want it to go is considered to be a temporary setback. But it gives you an opportunity to correct that setback and to move forward. So this is the way we look at it, an optimistic way.
Thank you.
You're very welcome, sir. Did I answer your question, sir?
100%, yes.
Thank you, Naeem. And Ozzy has a question. Ozzy, if we can highlight Ozzy.
Well, hi there. Thanks so much, Bill, for this inspiring talk. How do the children that you're delivering these lessons to, they're young children, how do they react, and do they absorb the lessons that that you have intended, or do they go somewhere else with this?
That's a good question. That's a good question, Ozzy. If we have, let's say, 500 or 5,000 loud people inside a room, this is what I've experienced in the room. And you have the Holocaust, ladies and gentlemen, today we have a Holocaust survivor. His name is Sammy Steigman. And as Sammy Steigman comes up and he greets everyone, that noise simmers. There's no more noise. You could drop a pin. There is something there when they go up to speak. Everyone listens. It doesn't matter what age. So the question is, do they listen to you? Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So it's not only me. I'm always with the Holocaust survivor when we go up to speak, majority of the times. And they take the lead.
Mm-hmm.
So
is there a lasting impact?
Yes, that's the impact. So it is with 5 students. So it is with 1,000 students. They go in, I kid you not, listeners. They go inside the room. They get up to the podium. My name is Sally Fishberg, and I'm a Holocaust survivor. And they show the numbers on their hand, and all of a sudden, the room becomes quiet. So they listen. There's a proverb. It says, one can one can lead 1,000, and two can put 10,000 to flight. That's the way it works. The planter, the seed, the growth, the experience.
They're very, very inspirational. I wonder, as you were presenting this information for the last 20 years, how has the audience changed for you, right? I teach now at John Jay as well, so I'm sure it's a very different crowd since when you went to John Jay, but it's still the most diverse and incredible representation of American society and more importantly, New York. And I'm usually the only Jew they have met in their lives. And I ask folks if, how many Jews they have known in their lives, how many Jews they have actually known, they've chatted with, and they have had an experience with. And I'm very surprised often that most of the students who are all 90% of different minority groups usually say that they haven't actually met, known, had experiences with Jewish folks, even though they live in New York, where we have a very large Jewish population. How do you change that? How does the audience have changed from when you taught? And what do we do to make sure people start to know and not see each other as the other, but see each other as a friend, as someone that they know, someone they can respect?
I'm going to answer that question in two parts. Sometimes when I am around my African-American brothers and sisters and I'm talking about matters of the Holocaust and Holocaust survivors, the question is, my brother, what's up with that? How about the Black slavery operation? What happened to that? Why aren't you talking about that? And I could respond to my brothers and my sisters by saying, we are. Our African-American atrocity and what our brothers and sisters went through, are going through still, meaning the Holocaust survivors and our Jewish people, things has changed, but tolerance in people's heart need to be continued to reborn, regrow, rebirth, sanctified. So it's not a Black thing or a Jewish thing or a white thing. No, it's a matter of respect and tolerance for each other. That's one part. The other part is, how can we bring and continue to unite people of color, the Jewish brothers, the Muslim brothers, LGBT? How can we bring them all together? And my answer to you is our Tool for Tolerance bus. Exactly what we're doing. Here again, with one bus, we'll be able to see 75,000 students per year, in which we'll be able to talk about matters of the atrocities of the past, matters of bullying, how to correct certain intolerant behavior. So on the bus, I didn't share this with you, but on the bus, we'll have the driver. If you haven't gone to Epcot Center, the bus will be similar to Epcot Center. You'll be on it, but you'll be transformed, or virtually transformed to something else, the bus that is. So you'll have the bus driver, a Holocaust survivor, a liberator, an African-American senior, or a Muslim brother, an LGBT, one of the other, sharing the importance of tolerance. So here we have a confluence of ideology on one mission, one important mission. Let's get along through tolerance. If they are able to bring harm to you because of your color of your skin, the way you speak, the way you look, they'll be able to do it to others. So we bring ourselves together and we condemned intolerant behavior. So that's what we're doing, sir.
That's amazing. And Manfred has asked, like, if you can tell us more about your personal background. How did you get here? What's your story?
Oh, okay. I was born in Jamaica, West Indies. I came to this country at a very young age. Where I came from in Jamaica, we have white people, Black people, all people, but we didn't consider ourselves white or Black in Jamaica, that is. at that time, when in the 60s, we didn't consider ourselves white, black, pink. No, we consider ourselves Jamaicans. So we were the white, the black, the pink, we all from humble beginnings, as they would say. So coming to America when at such a young age, I was a child, about 7 years old, it was a culture shock. But I learned, I took what I was taught in Jamaica at my young age, and I was able to build on it and build on it and build on it. I became educated thereafter. I'm a product of the public school system. I've written a couple of books, unpublished. The book I'm writing now is will be a New York Times bestseller. My mission in life is to, how best can I be a servant to others? That's my mission. How best, not foolishly, but how best or wisely can I be a servant in serving others? And I say the same thing to you. If you want to make a lot of money, if you want to have a humble heart, find the best service in what you can do best in serving others. So my life from a humble beginning, from Jamaica to here, is where I am now. My father was Cuban. My mother father's from Wales, a mixture of ethnicity. And I'm able to take all that endeavor and incorporate it into being constructive instrument to society. Let me just also share this with you. I used to run barefoot from school, 1.5 miles from my home to school. Best days of my life. Get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, milk the cows, pick the oranges, bring the water from the pond to feed the chickens. Best life I've had. So there was a level of discipline in which you're able to merge the interests of that discipline with nature, respect for others, and you grow into that standard. So that's my life in a nutshell. From humble beginnings, fulfilling the obligation and the interests of love, kindness, and take it and grow on it, build on it.
Amazing. What a story. And we have a question from the audience, from Sheila, who asks what happens now that, like, as you said, unfortunately, many Holocaust survivors will pass away in the next coming decade. What are you doing to preserve that memory and to continue teaching young people? And how are you doing it? What are some of the solutions that you have found to continue spreading that message, continue the education after Holocaust survivors pass away?
Good question. And this is how the holograms come into play. With the holograms is a new technology that the USC Schule Foundation created. With the holograms, you, Mary, Paul, come on the bus or wherever the holograms are. The holograms are made up of a person, let's say a Holocaust survivor. We're able to create questions, all level of questions, for that holograms to be able to have it. So you as a student will go up to the hologram and say, hi, my name is John, what is yours? Talking to the hologram will tell you, my name is Paul, and it will say, I was your age many years ago back in Germany or back in Czechoslovakia. And I'm glad you're talking to me. So it's like a live instrument, a live body talking to you. You could ask the hologram any questions, and that hologram will be able to answer you in the present time. So the question is, how are you preserving? What are you doing, Mr. Bill, to be able to keep the interest of Holocaust survivors, the Martin Luther Kings, the Rosa Parks? What are you doing to keep their journey, their compassion, their heart alive? Well, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. The principle is, here I can have shared it with you, one can lead 1,000 and two could put 10,000 to flight. So if we're able to continue with using technology, artificial intelligence, with the holograms, when the Holocaust are all gone, the level of what took place about them, how they lost all their lives, or they were burned, their family were massacred, it exists, and that will continue to, that story will be continuing in the future on our Tour for Tolerance bus.
That is this hologram idea is incredibly interesting for me, and I'd love to see how that works. Being able to ask questions to a hologram and to get the right answers. It's very exciting.
Professor,
I know
I
you
would like to share that information with all the listeners. We have the hologram. We'll show you how it works.
amazing.
We'll be able to send them all emails.
And I want to invite you to physically to come to campus, but God willing, our campuses allow us to do more, and we would love for you to come to physically speak to students and to bring this maybe technology or the bus or however we can make it happen. We'd love to do that. That would be amazing. So maybe not if Corona lets down a little bit, so we can do it. A question for you about this program that you've had, where you've spoken to African American athletes who played, who had an experience in Israel, and what their Israel experience was like, and how they come back as African Americans, and how they can tell the story of Israel. And two fellow African Americans, how has that been, and what's working, maybe what's not working, and what do you think we can do in this realm?
Professor, that's a good question. To all the listeners who are listening to what the professor just said, this is what we're doing. We have an active relationship with Israel. The goodwill ambassador to Israel, his name is Tal Brody. What Tal Brody is doing, Tal Brody is one of probably the best basketball player Israel ever had. There's a movie about Tal Brody says, we put Israel on the map. African Americans and the Jewish basketball players. Matter of fact, ladies and gentlemen, it's the Jewish people that got African American into basketball, teaching them how to play basketball, sports that is. But let's just stick with basketball. Teaching them how to play basketball, getting them into the NBA. They started this in Brownsville, New York, and many other places in the United States. So specifically answering your question, Professor, what Tal Brody is doing now, Tal Brody is getting Israeli young people, basketball players, baseball players, and sports figure, and merging them with American youth, high school, junior high school kids. So we have like a pen pal relationship that's going on now with the people in Israel, our students rather, in Israel. Why Israel? We want to continue that relationship. We want to be able to strengthen that bond. And who best to do it? But what instrument is best to do it than sports? And Tal Brody is doing such a great job. He's a goodwill ambassador throughout the whole world, and he's doing a great job. Meaning, whenever Tal is in New York, he visits schools, particularly the African American school, coaching and teaching them how to play basketball, giving them points. Out here again, Professor, I would love to share with you some of Tal Brody's lectures, some of Tal Brody's move, his mission, his vision for African Americans and Jewish kids. So that is very active now. That's what we're doing now.
Very excited to see that, and I have seen
Tal Brody. Let me say this also, Professor.
Yes.
Let me also say this, that there's a strong standing, there's a strong leverage of African Americans living in Israel, came from Harlem, came from Brooklyn, came from the Los Angeles world, now presently living in Israel based on sports and other areas. So I would love to share that information with you. You'll be able to hear again the listeners, you'll be able to talk with them, listen to them, you'll be able to see them on Zoom, you'll be able to develop a relationship with them. So if any of you who are listening are sports players in any capacity, we want you to be able to be a part of that.
very exciting and interesting. And we have a question from Ronnie. If Ronnie wanna jump in.
Yeah. So,
I just caught
Isaac,
this.
I'm on the phone. 1 second. Sorry about that. That's my little brother. I just want to say, like, I met a basketball player from Newark, New Jersey, who actually went to Israel to play basketball for like an exhibition game, and then ended up staying there for 45 years, which I thought was like really crazy. Like, I never thought I didn't know that was like such a big thing. I thought that was very interesting and like relevant.
Yeah. You know,
He's
and
a
here
fluent Hebrew
again,
speaker. I mean, wow.
we want to expand that capacity. You see what I'm saying, young man? If we are able to bring ourselves up to par, you said you never heard of that, you're not aware of it, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to spread the word. We want to be able to show the good relationship, the good things that we are doing. And here again, let's retroactively go back. Let's go back for a second. You know how strong the relationship was back in the days in the civil rights movement? You know that Jewish-Black relationship that they had? We could not have accomplished the level of success in what we did in the civil rights for your mom and your dad and your grandparents to have had gone through. I'm quite sure many of you students have heard of the Brown versus Board of Education. I'm quite sure you've heard of that. Jewish brothers and sisters, they all work together with the African-American intellectuals or lawyers to be able to get our President Johnson to pass that Civil Rights Act after the case. So I would love to send you some information. Here again, I would love to get your email address for this gathering, this symposium, for us to be able to work together as a team, for you to be able to say tomorrow, I didn't know that. You're going to say now, I know that, because we're going to have that strong relationship in such a way, a community of interest for us to be able to share the power of who we are and what we're doing.
100%. And we will post these, whatever you send us, we'll post it on our website at cunyalliance.org, alliancefoриnclusion.org. So very excited to share all of that information. The question for you is, as we're thinking about the strength of the relationship that you spoke about between the African Americans and the Jews, especially during the civil rights movements, high moments in the 60s. What has changed? What do you think has changed between these communities, and why has it become not such a warm relationship? Why has it become a strained relationship, especially in this past decade?
Ideology in different school of thought. And at a certain point in time, other stronger interests have surpassed the good in us. I use the word certain strong interests. For example, the Black Lives Matters movement. The reason why the Black Lives Matters movement is so strong, because of the continuous pain and hurt that many Black men and Black women have gone through because of injustice. So that strength of that school of thought, that ideology, that real interest have surpassed or put other things in the back burner, you know, and leaving who we are and what we were together at that point in time. So the question is, why is there an indifference now? My answer to that is because of the interest of time. The development of new thought, the development of the continuous trying to correct the wrong, particularly the physical wrong that the system, I use the word the system, particularly the criminal justice system, do to people of color. So that's that kind of ideology. I don't want to hear anything else. I don't want to hear anything else. Takes over and everything goes to the back burner. So I would say ideology, while we are not at the same strength that we had before. Ideology.
It's overwhelming that this ideology has affected us in such a way, and the negativity has persisted. How do you think we can empower African American youths today? And you have worked with youths in these neighborhoods for 3 decades. But what can we do today to connect African-American youths to the Jewish experience, to show and teach of the commonalities of our bonds? And I know your organization, Words for Bonds, that's such a beautiful way to put it. What can we do today in this incredible divisive land we live in, and how can we connect these folks with all of these ideologies, but really make it work so that people finally become tolerant again?
The answer to that is the Proverbs: measurable growth in reasonable time. You plant a seed and it grows, it's nurtured and it grows into an experience, and it be able to replenish itself. What Tal Brody is doing in merging people of color together is a good example of being the goodwill ambassador to the world. What sports is doing by bringing people together of color is another way of merging ideology and throwing out the bad things about people of color, or bringing people together. What we're doing in our school system in teaching different subjects about the atrocities of the past, about hate, passing laws that governs everyone, not only a class of people, but to govern everyone, treating people fairly. How can we put all this stuff together and work as a team? That's what we're doing, but we just need to take it to a greater level, Having you professors be able to share that information to your students, having your students be able to take that information back to others, for us to be able to play together. Instead of being isolated, we'll be able to work together in sports, work together in the classroom, work together in the street, work together at work, work together by getting the same pay for the same job. Not because if you are a different color or you're female, you shouldn't get the same pay for the same job. Just work together in unison and in harmony. It's much easier said than done, but it's a big start, and that's what we're doing. That's what America is doing. Look, we know America has its challenges. We are the leader of the free world, and we are correcting many wrongs. So it's a growing thing that we're doing. It's an opportunity.
Right, absolutely, an opportunity. If we look at it that way, maybe we can do it well. Naeem has a question. Please, Naeem, go ahead.
Yeah, I just had a question about what would be the best way, let's say, if you do approach someone that does hate other people and does hate, what would be the best way to approach it and to try to influence them and educate them that hate's wrong and what you're thinking is not really there, and how do we educate them and when hate does come upon?
That's a good question. My answer to that would be as follows. If you disagree with someone, well, let's put it this way. What is love? Love is using yourself to please others, not using them to please you. Some people have in their heart because of certain things that may have happened to them. Let's say, for example, a police officer may have shot their brother or whatever. So there's bitterness. How do you overcome that? How do you forgive that police officer, or how do you try to get the hate, the darkness out of that person? And the answer is only one thing. I would suggest forgiveness. It's difficult. It's easy to say, but it's difficult to do. But when you forgive someone, you remove the burden from yourself. The burden is no longer there. You may not remember, you may continue to remember what happened, but the burden is no longer there. How do you change a person's heart from being hateful and bitter, filled with darkness, to love? Well, John and Mary, you can't go on living your life like that. I'll tell you what happened to me. I'll tell you what happened to me. This is a true story. A few years ago, early in the morning, I was driving into the city and I pulled into a gas station. I was putting gas in my car, sir. And three young men, about 14, 15, or 16 years old, came up to me with a gun in their hand before 5 o'clock in the morning. Give me all your money. I put my hands up in the air. My wallet was on top of my car. I gave them my wallet. They all want to search me. My hands up in the air. I said, sir, that's all I have. Young men, green, 14, 15, 16, with a Glock. I know what guns is because I was in law enforcement. And I looked at him and I said, sir, this is not the way to live your life. This is not the way to live your life. He looked at me and he said, man, shut up. I've been effed up all night, man. I've been drinking. I've been effed up all night. Don't tell me what to do. So they stood for a few seconds. They looked at me, took all the money, everything that I had in my wallet, and they walked away. A few seconds, then the guy with the gun came back to me. Now, two of them came back and said, sir, I am sorry for what I did. I didn't mean that. I'm so sorry, sir. He gave me my wallet, put my wallet back in my pocket, said he was sorry, and they walked away.
What a story.
I'm just telling you that one word, they could have killed me. They could have shot me, boom, 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 boom. But that's just that one word. It's that love in your heart. You know, you have peace in your heart, that godliness in your heart. You just speak the word. I'm just so reflecting back on your question. I'm just saying that light overcome darkness. And just that beautiful words of love, it overcomes a lot.
Thank you
That's
so much.
beautiful.
That answers my question.
That's beautiful.
Sorry,
And that's wonderful. Naeem said it's perfect. It's the exact answer. And that story is so exemplary of the effect of words, right? And of actions. And as a last message that I would love to give for you to give us, maybe to give the students that are here today, the young students at CUNY, what would you tell these young students? How can they, feel optimistic about the world around them? How could they make actions real for themselves? What could they do today? A simple task, a simple move, a step in the direction of making a better tolerant world. What would you say they need to do today?
Your life is a portfolio. The first 25 years of your life is called the learning years. From 25 to 65 is called the earning years. From 65 to you passed on is called the golden years. During those 3 terms of your life, you only invest 3 things: your time, your skills, and your ability. You'll learn, you earned, and in the golden years, you're able to retroactively come back and give. So what do you do at this stage of your life right now? You do those 3 things. Plan your plan and work your plan. Young people, if you're under 25 years old, your mission is to get your bachelor's, your master's, your PhD, just to your vocation, a profession, a job. And at the same time, while you do that, you're able to plan your family. That's the first 25 years of your life. From 25 to 65, you earn, you earn, you earn. But at the same time, you find a system, a place in which you could give back a part of your earning. You earn money, you put it in your pocket, you save it, but you need to be able to give to an organization at least 5 or 10% of your earning. Make that a practice. You find something. The Heart Association, your place of worship. From 65 till you go on to retirement, you're able to coach, go back to the now that from 1 to 25 to coach, to give them the opportunity to be able to learn from you. So here again, age 1 to 25 is called The learning years from 25 to 65 is called the earning years. From 65 to your pass down is called the golden years. They only do three things in life. Three things in life, what you do. And those three things is you invest your time, your skills, and your ability. Make it count. Make it count. Put that into your portfolio and work from that. That's your goal. Where do I see myself 1 year from now, 2 years from now, 3, 5 years from now? The first 25 years, work on that. From age 1 to 100, give something back to the community. Give something, your time, your skills, your money. Give something back. That's your responsibility in becoming a servant. Serve others.
Wow, what a great lesson for all our listeners, for our students, our faculty, our community members who are here. We want to thank you so much, Bill, and for coming to speak to us. And we can't wait to bring you physically to our campuses, to meet with our students, to bring Holocaust survivors with you, and to bring the bus with the holograms, and to really educate our students about the optimism that you've shown today, which has been so extraordinary. We're excited. We have a podcast that we'd love to invite you to as well, that our students actually run a podcast. So we'd love to invite you and be with us. So let's give a virtual hand to our to Bill for coming and being with us today. And we'll post this amazing chat and amazing conversation out on our website, and we'll send it out to all of our participants and to everyone else. And we're excited to see more and more speaker series coming ahead of us. And again, we want to thank Bill for an amazing conversation and for everything you're doing for our communities and for bringing truth and tolerance to our world. Thank you again.
Thank you, Professor. In the interim, Professor, and everyone, I ask of you, please, we can avail our Holocaust survivors to your setting at any point in time, morning, noon, and night. And here again, the reason why I put the emphasis and stretch it so much, in a few more years, no more. Take advantage of them while you can. I don't care who you are, young, pink, white, black, take advantage of these Holocaust survivors. They want to talk to you. They want to show you the numbers on their arm that you could do whatever you possibly can to make sure that doesn't happen again.
100%. Wonderful. Thank you again. And we're very excited, and we'll see you all soon. And thank you, Bill. We'll be in touch very soon. Appreciate everybody coming here. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Professor.
Friends. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for your time.
Thank you much.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, friends. Bye-bye, friends. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye.